Sup everyone, welcome back to another video. So today's video is going to be a little different. I don't see this talked about enough, and with how aggressive HoYoverse has been pushing out their advertisement, I actually have noticed a lot of newer players coming into the game. A lot of people DMing me asking questions, and they're level 30, well, AR 30, and there's a ton of things going around and they can't seem to find the right pieces of information. And I've come to the conclusion with this list 5 points that I feel pretty much one way or another exist in almost all of the accounts that I have seen. Now, this isn't just some lucky go list saying, oh, don't follow the meta, follow your heart. While that is true in a sense, these players need much more help than just some generalistic follow your heart types of advice. Okay, so know that these 5 tips are going to be the one that I hope all the newer players take something out of. So without any further ado, let's start with number 5. Now, for number 5, that is no focus, right? Trust me, diversity is good. In fact, towards the late game of Genshin, you gotta flip it around, kind of just build a little bit of everything, make sure you're prepared for any scenario. But in the early game, I see people always trying to build like 2 different teams, or like they have one team not even worked out yet and they're working on their second one. So for example, I have a Raiden hyper carry team on screen right now, and don't worry, we're going to talk a little bit about another issue that comes up. And I think this is also due to the fact that most guide videos nowadays on YouTube just all focus around meta teams, and then they try to tell you what's the best for your characters. Now, what's best for your characters is when they're probably level 80, level 90, talent level 8, you got signature weapons ideally, or really good 4-star options. And then people at AR 30s trying to replicate that. So what ends up happening is they do a little bit of this, they do a little bit of that, and their account is just a mess. Over investment into certain characters when they didn't need to, and a complete depletion of resources. So that is definitely the first one. And understand, people, if you are struggling to complete content and you need better teams, there are far better options for early game fast clearing. It's not too difficult, and I understand for the most part they're trying to build their account for the long run. But in this scenario, you're going to be handicapping yourself for quite a while if you're trying to build, let's say, a Raiden hyper carry team with Raiden, Sarah, Bennett, and Kazuha. Even if you have all these characters, what about constellations? Your Sarah sitting at C0, why is she in the team? So it's not as simple as just seeing a team and copying the characters. You'd have to know the artifacts, best weapon, rotation. So a lack of focus is what I oftentimes see with these newer players. Moving on to point number 4. So point number 4, this shouldn't really be an issue anymore, and that is stat prioritization for artifacts. So for people who are new, if you didn't watch a live stream, here's a new feature. It's absolutely revolutionary. Take a look at this. All right, so pressing this button, you can actually see what people are running on certain characters pieces. So you can look at this, you can look at this, you can look at this, everything, right? It's just such a helpful tool. There's almost no excuse anymore nowadays to be running the wrong main stat on your artifact pieces. But there's still that one point. I can't even say it with a straight face. There is, you see, a 1.2% of the active player base running an HP percentage goblet on Raiden Shogun. So I don't want to meme or anything or make fun of these people. It's just oftentimes it comes from a lack of understanding, and I hope with tools like this is going to start happening less and less. Now, I'm not kidding when I say I've got people sending me screenshots of their main carries being like a Hu Tao, a Yoimiya, an Ayaka, and then for whatever reason, Ayaka's running like a Hydro Cup, and I asked him, why are you running that? It's like, oh, you know, I saw damage bonus. Granted, not everybody is struggling with this, but cups usually aren't the most difficult one, well, unless you're running Raiden Shogun. But my point here being is that main stat priority is very important, and followed by that is the substat priority. Now, this is something you can get from almost all guides on YouTube, or now with a simple click of a button. All right, So people use these tools. They're very powerful and very helpful, especially for early game players. Following this up with number 3, which is also artifact related. Actually, this is 2. It's for different people. This is a different issue. One is for the early game players is farming artifacts way too early, or not investing enough resin to farm artifacts for people who are in the late game. I know this is a beginner's video, but trust me, there is a shift in these priorities as you cross a certain threshold. When you are early game, you shouldn't be over investing your resin on farming artifacts. So for example, if I don't know if I even have any, like if we go all the way down here, you get a lot of these purple ones, which we call the 4-star artifacts. Yeah, they have the same 4-piece effect as the main ones, but oftentimes your characters aren't developed to the point where you really need these full set effects to take advantage of certain content. It's almost never a scenario where you feel like in the early game or mid game of Genshin, like lower than AR50, you say, I really need a set of 5-star artifacts to complete this content. You almost never run into that. As long as your character's leveled up, your weapons leveled up, you can throw just some ragtag 4-star, maybe the off chance you get a good 5-star artifact, you can throw it in there. I see too many people having like full plus 16 sets and they're still grinding the artifact because they saw in a guide video, let's say Raiden Shogun needs the emblem set, and they're just going balls to the walls farming emblem set. Chill, give it another week. You're gonna be at the point where you can guarantee one of these 5-star for the same amount of resin that you're spending on your 4-star artifact sets. For example, let's go to the domain. We used to talk about this a lot, but I understand as players all matured, people don't talk about this stuff anymore. So for any artifact domain, can't even find one here. So for any artifact domain, as you level up your adventure rank, once you pass level 45, you are going to be guaranteeing a 5-star artifact drop every time you spend 20 resin. There's a chance you might even get 2. Very, very small chance, but you can get 2 5-star artifacts. So that's when you should be devoting your time and resources to actually grinding artifacts. Now, the opposite, for some reason, the opposite is true for people as well. I've seen people who are AR56, 57, even AR58 who refuse to commit to farming artifacts. Now, that is such a waste. Now, I want to highlight something for you guys, okay? So, did you guys know that there is one advantage that a player can have over any whale in the game, even if you're like never spent a dime, and that is the time invested in grinding artifacts, right? This is something no whale can overtake you in just one gaming session, and not enough people are leveraging this amazing function in the game. Resin cap is limited in this game. Even for whales, you can do full resin refreshes and still come to an end at the end of the day. You can't infinitely sit here, grind no life. And I tell you guys over and over, leverage this. You can be putting in the work day in, day out. You might not see results in a week, hell, maybe in a month, but with enough time, you will build up enough artifacts that you have collected, which are actually good, some even amazing. And if you're lucky, a god tier artifact. That is something that no amount of whaling can guarantee. That's the beauty of RNG. If you invest the time, you will see results over a long period of time. The principle of big numbers. The longer you invest your time and resin, the better yield you'll have over a longer period of time, because it just averages out. You might get really unlucky for the first 6 months and you just have the best luck in the last 2-3 months. We don't know. Or it could be reverse. You can have amazing luck in the first 2 months and then terrible luck for the remaining time that you farm. But nothing changes if you don't farm. Get in there, start farming. For early game players, I know you all want to get to this point. For late game players, I know you dread thinking about going in, wasting 100-something resin. But just allocate a portion every single day, be consistent. It's going to turn out amazing for you guys. And that is something no amount of whaling can get to in a short amount of time. So now moving into number 2, and that is chasing meta teams before you meet the requirements. Oh my god, I know why though. I understand, because everybody wants what's best for them. Everybody wants the most meta teams, meta characters, meta weapon, and it's cool, and I respect you for doing your research, understanding, you know, what's good, what's bad. But bro, I swear to God, if I see another, Raiden national team with average levels being level 45, I'm about to fucking bust a vein in my head. It's so funny because these people are building teams that AR55 players are struggling to fully build, and they're like AR30. It's absolutely hilarious, but I always tell them, hey, don't worry about it, your time will come. So for example, Raiden Hyper Carry is one that is by no means cheap. In fact, hell, just building up Raiden Shogun by herself is one that's going to take you like 3 to 4 months, let alone fulfilling the requirements for all these other characters, along with like you know, the Ayaka, Shenhe, Ganyu, Freeze teams, right? Even a Hu Tao team. The list goes on. It just never ends. The top meta teams are amazing. All right, they're really good teams. You're not wrong in chasing after them, but it's too early. Your national team is so under-leveled and invested that your level 80 Razor team probably will do better job just overall. Team build, while is important, but at the early stages, you're not going to outperform a higher level unit team with better artifacts invested, even 4 stars, right? Especially if your Bennett is using 2 set Millith and 2 set Crimson Witch, and while your Raiden is using a 4 set Gladiator. You can't make this stuff up, people, all right? I'm not gonna name names because I already told them that, like, hey man, this is not the way to go. I understand you want to play this team, you see the big numbers, you love these characters, it's good that you already have them. That's the hard work done already, baby. You already got the characters. Just wait, level up, get to AR50, then put in the work, and slowly, piece by piece, they'll come together. Don't worry about it. But you need to get the level up, you need to get their talents up, you need to get their weapon optimizations right. And at the end of the day, you even have to learn proper rotations, right? It's not as easy as just copy and pasting someone else's team into your game and expecting it to work flawlessly. So people, this is a game. This is not like a homework assignment. Don't go overboard with the guides and stuff. Use them as references. Most of the time, they're designed, in fact, to help endgame players who have the resources to mimic what is demonstrated in the videos. You're gonna get there. Don't rush it. And finally, with my number 1 tip is over investing in main DPS units. You don't need 7 main DPS in the game, right? Genshin is actually a game that puts more emphasis on all units but the main DPS role. I can't even make this stuff up. Like, I know main DPS is the one that's all glorious and you see them a lot because they're on field a lot more often, and oftentimes people will pick somebody who's not only strong and fit, but fits them characteristically. I get it, but a lot of units can fit this role, but the supporting cast that surrounds the main DPS oftentimes will be more important. The few exceptions to this are certain hyper carry teams where, yeah, the supports are built around the main unit. Even so, hyper carry teams won't work if you don't have the supports to, well, you know, support them. So this point, I've actually noticed this quite a lot, is that you go through a honeymoon phase with the character. Maybe when you first start the game, you pick up a powerful main DPS unit, Hu Tao, or you pick up a Yoimiya, or you pick up an Ayaka, you pick up a Raiden, all amazing characters. But what ends up happening is then another one comes along, like after Raiden, you're like, oh my goodness, Eula is so beautiful, I'm gonna get Eula. And after Eula's like, oh my goodness, I need myself an Ayato. And after that, it just on and on and on. And then you also build a couple 4-star options. It just gets way too much, and you're stuck at a point where all your supports are level 40, all your main DPS, you have like 7 or 8 of them at level 70, and you don't know what to do. You're starting to hit a wall, and once you fully level up, you want to go into the Spiral Abyss. You realize you don't even have enough team options to build around 2 full functioning teams with all the characters you have. And guess what happens? You're gonna have to spend days, weeks, months re-grinding all these materials to now level up your support characters to fit your main carries. And for people who have more than just 3 or 4 well-built main DPSs, you already have enough units to completely blast through the game. Understand, there will come a time when you can easily build 7, 8, 9, 10, 20, 50, 69 main DPSs because you have an overabundance of resources due to slower patches. But now is not the time for you to focus heavily on a bunch of main carries. In fact, over focusing on a bunch of single rolled units will be a detrimental mistake to make in your early game. Focus on characters that can fit many roles. For example, Official, she could be main DPS, support DPS, or even a pure support. Kokomi has a driver role, she has a healer role, she has a hydro applicator role. Bennett is a great one. Worst case scenario, you can always flex him into a main DPS role, and trust me, it works. Xingqiu as well. Sucrose is a good one as well, but Sucrose is a little more difficult. She's definitely more niche compared to the previous mentioned ones. Xiangling is a great one. So do a little more homework to understand who exactly you are building and where their strengths lie. That's all I wanted to say. I hope this helps out the newer players. Don't make these mistakes. They're very basic and fundamental mistakes. A lot of people talked about them back in the day, but I don't see people talk as much about these things anymore. If you guys have more questions, leave them down in the comments. Veteran players are always down there answering questions, and myself as well. If you have more detailed questions, feel free to just DM me on Discord. Screenshots always help. So with that said, thank you guys for watching. Welcome to Genshin Impact, and I hope you have a great time. Until next time, urge y'all to stay safe and peace. Bye.